Hey, this is Mark Henry, here to talk to you more about the occult and paranormal. Well, I want to start out by talking about a new subject, and the title of this video is Women in Black May Come to Your Door. Now, you may say, well, if a woman in black comes to my door, that might be a good thing. Because I'm quite fond of women with dark hair, pale skin, wearing dark clothes. However, if I see that their eyes are 3 times bigger than mine, and I start to question their dimensionality, then I become suspicious. But I will get into more of that in a second. But first, I want to talk about how this fits in to Men in Black, into that particular context. I've mentioned it in a couple videos, but in case you're not familiar, I want to just kind of mention it. Okay, so it's important to remember that the Men in Black typically show up whenever there is a sighting of UFOs or even other paranormal phenomena. Someone witnesses it, and sometimes they speak about it, and then a week or two later, someone shows up the door, and it's typically someone that a Men in Black appears male. They different dimensions of height, but sometimes they're short. Sometimes they can be like 5 feet tall, like the miniatures, and they're wearing like a fedora, dark hat, dark suit, black tie. Usually come up in a vehicle that is like from the 50s. So, and this sometimes happens even nowadays. It happened in the 90s. I remember reading about 2012. So it's like these particular Men in Black are stuck. Their fashion and style is stuck in the 50s. So they kind of show up, they go to the door, and they ask questions and to discern information from the person who witnessed UFO, and then give some type of veiled threat to keep quiet. And then they take off. And they disappear as quickly as they appear out of nowhere. They usually also have some odd behaviors. They have sometimes different speaking patterns, like they're not quite proficient in the language. Some have seen them out in like a diner, like outside of the home, where they had trouble using forks and being fascinated by pens and all these other types of things. So, the Men in Black, another thing that they have, they usually will show up once, and then afterwards, they don't show up typically again, but the person who received the visit will get some type of phone call where there's a lot of static, a lot of electricity, type of interference, electronics, and then there's a hang up. So, pretty weird stuff. So, who exactly are the Women in Black? So, the Women in Black have some of the same similarities as the Men in Black. Another thing that happens, and I'll mention this with both groups, is that when they show up, there is this, people feel like this, almost like this hypnotic influence on them. They ask whether they can come in, and the person usually lets them in. And then they have their conversation. And that happens, whether it's a Woman in Black or a Men in Black. The Women in Black will usually show up by themselves, or they will maybe show up with the male counterpart. The Women in Black don't usually show up as in multiple women for some reason. But again, they show up with sightings related to UFO and the paranormal. And I say paranormal because when the Mothman situation happened in the 60s in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, that you had the same situation happen. You had the Men in Black come, and that wasn't related necessarily to UFO stuff. It was related to a moth creature, and a woman in black showed up. One of the things that happened after that occurred was that John Keel, who wrote the book The Mothman Prophecies, was doing an investigation, and there was a woman in black who came to some of the people that he had interviewed and pretended to be his secretary and went in and tried to ask them questions and get more information and stuff like that. And that's another thing with the women. There's women in black, they tend to be more covert, at least the way I've been reading things, than the males who typically go in. The males typically go in and just kind of get down to business. The women in black will typically go in under some type of pretense. Like they'll come in and they'll say, I'm a census taker from the government. How many children do you have? How many people in this house? How many rooms do you have? How much money you make? And then works their way into, have you had any strange dreams lately? We got some type of report that you saw a UFO, and then they go into, once if the person reveals all of that, then they discourage them from speaking about it again and give some type of threat again. So what do the women in black look like? Well, the women in black will come to the door. They're usually pale, just like the men in black. They'll have dark hair, and short or long, but every person that tends to see them says that it's a wig, that it doesn't look like real hair. Their eyes are much larger than what would be a human, which is a tip-off. And again, the black clothes. Now, what's interesting about the men in black, the women in black, and the black-eyed children is that they all have something that is covering their eyes. The men in black have glasses, sunglasses, and sometimes they're the kind that kind of go around the sides because they suspect that they don't want anyone looking at their eyes. The women in black have their wig has bangs, which kind of partially covers their eyes, and the black-eyed children usually wear a hoodie with they kind of look down with their eyes facing the ground. So for some reason there is these beings are self-conscious of their eyes. Like I said, maybe they don't want it to be tipped off. They feel like they're really putting one over on us, so they're really trying to work hard to do that. The women in blacks, they are usually, like I said, they have some type of pretense to go and start a conversation, and they do their business. Another interesting thing is that both the men in black and the women in black, they will sometimes ask for the time. Like, what time is it? I was reading one guy who thinks that these women in black and men in black are transdimensional, and that what's happening is that they're trying to orientate themselves to the time, to the specific time. I make sure they are where they're supposed to be, and they're asking for the time. There is also some stories that came out of the UK in the 80s of specific women in black, just like I described, who were going to people's houses and claiming that, almost like they were phantom social workers, They said, hey, there's been some reports, we're from Child Protection, that your children have been abused and we have to ask you some questions. And the people that were asked that were people that who claimed that they saw UFOs. So over time, if someone is saying that you're abusing your child, that's going to arouse a lot of suspicion. They called the police, and of course, what the police are going to do, they can't find the women in black. But it was kind of an interesting phenomenon, and I guess that game didn't work for too long because you don't hear about that happening anymore. So that's kind of the long and the short of the women in black. Two things that I wonder about with this whole men in black and women in black situation. One is the whole hiding of the eyes thing. Okay, so if they are able to tune their appearance to approximate what a human can do, assuming that they are non-human, transdimensional, then why can't they get their eyes like our eyes? What is the problem with that? I'm not sure, but it seems to be a glitch in their abilities to be able to do that, which is very unusual. I also wonder about, and I can't find this, is whether anyone has actually touched a men in black, woman in black, or black-eyed child. Because, you know, these people are appearing solid to those who are observing them, who are interacting with them. Now, when I asked someone this about has anyone ever touched the men in black or woman in black, they told me, why would you want to? Well, I actually, if they came to my home, I would try to touch them because I'm odd, but I would try to see if they're solid, because that I would really want to know. I'd really want to know whether they are made of our type of matter. So I'm not too worried about the men in black and women in black. All of you know who've watched my videos. I have my little dog. His name is Knight. He's a little bitty dog, and for some reason he does not like the color black. He hates black dogs. He will raise hell against black dogs. He doesn't like people wearing black clothes. He just, I don't know what it is. It's one of his strange little character defects. So, if a man in black or woman in black came to the door, he would be greatly offended by it. And sure enough, he doesn't like children anyway. So if they had some black-eyed child, you know, running around my yard, he doesn't like children. He'd like black-eyed children even less. So, in any case. Give me your thoughts. Give me your thoughts. Someone, I think, sent a Facebook message when I was doing the one about the black-eyed children, who was telling me that he thinks the black-eyed children have autism and some other things, and that I shouldn't be so hard on them and stuff like that. So I'm welcome any comments. You know, I will leave a link in in the description. Please subscribe and like. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you all at a future time. Thanks so much.